Okay, welcome back, guys. Welcome back to our channel. We have our special guest here, Raul from Spain. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. How are you, Raul?
Very good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. So yeah, Raul is Bitcoiner as well. Yeah, I mean, is it OG or not? You can share about it later. So before I gotta start with the video, can you share like a little bit more about yourself and how you get into Bitcoin rabbit hole for the very first time?
Well, a bit of myself. By background, I'm a computer engineer. I have an MBA, and I've been working around 12 years in an area called information and knowledge management. So completely unrelated to Bitcoin, in fact. I've been working in very interesting places, like the European Space Agency, or my last job was in the European Southern Observatory, which was pretty unique. My office was in the middle of the Atacama Desert.
Yeah.
And in this time around, well, I had my first touch base with Bitcoin. The first time I get to know it was 2013.
Yeah.
But of course, this was like many of us, it was a good opportunity to get some money quick, no, something like that.
Yeah.
So I
Exactly.
started to try Bitcoin, other shitcoins, I don't know. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but I got burned, not that
Yeah.
much, but then I say, okay, that's was a good opportunity, but nothing much came of it, and I just forgot about Bitcoin altogether until 2019, more or less, in which I read the book Bitcoin Standard by Seyfedin
Safe.
Amos, which
Yeah.
is probably the book that has created the biggest amount of hodlers in the
Yeah. I
recent
know.
history. So this gave me a completely different view on what Bitcoin is. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's probably a not get poor slowly scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
it's a way. It's a way to save your future through your work in a
Mm.
asset that is not seizable, it's not debaseable, and all these
Yeah.
properties we all know. So I think the argument put forward by Seyfedin, I like it very much because
Yeah.
it went to the heart of what is money. You know, the whole book
Yeah.
was 85% history of money, and then a
Yeah.
little chapter at the end, and he said, well, after all that I explained, this is Bitcoin, and this is why it's important. So it was a light bulb moment, you know.
Yeah.
And
I know.
I told my wife, you know what, we need to buy Bitcoin and start saving in Bitcoin everything we
Yeah.
want
You stack
to have
sats, right? Yeah.
for the long term. Yeah, she
Yeah.
agreed,
Absolutely.
and here I am. And after that, I've been on a rabbit hole, reading as much as I could. I've been developing little things here and there for, Raspberry Blitz, the
Yeah. I know.
this this node. So I have contributed to a couple of things there, and I
Yeah.
wrote articles on the morality of inflation.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been contributing as a in a podcast, in Spanish podcast by my
Yeah.
friend Alberto Mera. So every now and
Yeah.
then I go there and I explain a few things, and
Yes.
we have a good fun. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw your GitHub as well. You know, you contribute a lot to the community. I think, yeah, that's the better way for Bitcoin pleb to move forward, right? So, yeah, that's pretty much about it. So, yeah, that was your like background story into Bitcoin rabbit hole. I mean, what was your aha moment? Oh, Bitcoin is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. I mean, because there's some
Mm.
bubble back there now.
Yeah, the aha moment is when I came back to the world of Bitcoin, let's say in 2019, when I learned from this book of Seyfedin, I realized that Bitcoin went through an existential moment, which was the fork
Yeah,
through
I know the
either
block
a
size
big
war,
block or
right? Yeah,
the block size war, basically. And the small blocks front won. And for me, it was incredible to realize, like, hey, 1 second, the people that didn't have the power were the ones deciding the rules of the system. So the
yeah,
biggest actors at the moment, like miners, exchanges, and so on, they just wanted to push for a hard fork, and then those having the nodes are the ones that continued the ethos of Bitcoin. And then
yes,
I thought, well, actually, this was one of the biggest or the most critical moments of Bitcoin,
yeah.
and it has survived pretty
Yeah,
well with
it's
flying
right.
colors. So I said, yeah, I don't see any major threats coming in the short term. Of course, we always speak about government's prohibitions and so on, but these risks are little by little being mitigated. So yeah, there are some or big hurdles in the future, but for me, this was a big aha moment when I saw, yeah, this Bitcoin took this path, and I think the majority of people, the majority of industry now agrees this is the path. So I think this is a good, a good asset to be invested in, yeah, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the feelings the same way, back in 2017, because if anyone can change it, what's the point of Bitcoin, right? So I don't know. I mean, back then, the fundamentally change, Bitcoin gonna change forever. But yeah, luckily it's never gonna happen, because Bitcoin is like the hardest and the math, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing that in order to get a change done, the whole process around it, it takes ages, and for good reason, because there must be a consensus of the majority of the community to change something, and if there hasn't been any proper discussion, like usually years, as we had with Taproot, for example,
Yeah.
the things will not pass, and they shall not pass, in fact. And I have seen with a bit of a surprise this latest proposal of the
BIP,
change
right?
template. Very, yeah. The BIP. Which one was that? BIP
Yeah, Tero,
119.
right?
The the 119, the one of
Yeah.
the covenants. Yeah. So out of the blue, well, not really out of the blue, but this guy just came with a client that would be implementing it just to see who would be in. It's like, even if it's a good one, a good proposal, let's have a further discussion on the whole thing. And but okay, I think we have forgotten about that pretty quickly. So
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like a soft fork, it's not a really fundamental change in many ways. But in 2017 is block size war. I think, yeah, that's the most critical moment in Bitcoin history. I don't know. I just the way I put it that way, So yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah, because
was it
Bitcoin
also
itself.
for you?
Sorry.
What was it also for you, the aha moment or the most critical moment?
Yeah, because back then I have still no idea about Bitcoin is all about, right? Because there's some competition or why you can for it, and then Bitcoin is back then quote unquote expensive for I cannot affordable for most people. That's why people can move like Bitcoin cash, right? But yeah, luckily the community stay strong, and it's all about consensus, right? So
Yeah, in fact,
yeah, so
this
yeah,
is
I can
something
like
also.
sorry, can I ask like your question? I mean, like since like you live in Europe, I mean, I just I just curious about the situation in there, because one USD finally after 20 years become 1 euros, right? I don't know. I mean, what happened? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that, and I remember that in, I don't know, it was 2012, something around that time, that Bitcoin reached parity with $1, and it was a great
Yeah,
news
I know.
for the world of Bitcoin now. And
Absolutely.
then they say, yeah, and the euro has reached parity with the dollar as well. So why are people not happy? No,
Yeah.
because of course this is a complete different story. So what happened is that basically the macro situation is that there is
Yeah.
less demand for euros than there is for euros. So less demand for euros than there is for dollars. The Federal Reserve is being more strict with the increase of rates.
Yes.
The European Central Bank still pushing rates high, but at a different pace. So and of course the dollar is the reserve asset of the world. So you can at the moment not compete with that, even though the euro have had this role for many years, at least on a secondary role, so to say. But I guess the trade deficit we are experiencing now, with the cost of energy increasing, the energy strategy in Europe followed the last decade or decades. So now it has made Europe everything has come at once, and I guess the amount of euros in existence with the increase of euros, all the programs by the ECB and so on, probably didn't help.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because we live in like historic time, I don't know. It's kind of a recession happen all over again, but you're right. Maybe it's because like the policy of the central bank itself. I put the interest rate way too low. I mean, is it like a negative interest rate, right, in Europe, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the Europe is at the so Europe, or more particularly the European Central Bank, is right now at the crossroads, because the point is that we have a very high inflation, historically high inflation. If they raise rates in order to combat that inflation, and at a way that is substantial, like if we think of the 70s, 80s with Paul Volcker, who raised rates at 20%, and of course he created a recession, but he fought inflation pretty well. But the consequences are that there was a recession at the time. It was known, but there are not really a lot of things you can do about that. So if the ECB does that right now, what you have is that probably the countries in Europe in the periphery, like Spain, Italy, Greece, etc., are going to break down. So a meltdown of their infrastructure, their debts, etc. Because just to quote one example, Spain is its debt is 120% of its GDP.
Yeah.
Italy is even worse, 130 or something like that. I don't know the exact number. And Greece is also around that area. So, of course, you are now, if you are the ECB, you have to decide if you want to raise rates to combat inflation. But what happens is that these countries are going to default, and it risks the integrity of the euro itself if you have a country like Spain or Italy defaulting. If you don't raise rates, what happens is that you get a rampant inflation, and you get the countries on the, let's say, on the north, the more fiscally responsible ones, or the frugals, as they've been called, like Austria, Germany, Netherlands, etc. These people will be very angry, and these people will say, why are we paying with the reduction of our purchase power, the irresponsible policies taken by these other countries? So probably, but I guess the people in these countries will be very unhappy with the inflation that is on their soil, because the ECB, if the ECB doesn't raise rates, so the inflation will probably keep. And then there is a high chance that more populistic political governments take over, and also there is this risk of the euro, the European Union itself breaking down if that happens. So as you see, so Europe is really now in a situation where there is no easy way out. I honestly don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. So we will see.
We can never know. I mean, like what the future holds. But what I'm saying is that the game is rigged. We all know, right? Because the cheap money is being printed cannot sustain over a long term. I mean, for example, like Sri Lanka just default recently. It's kind of pity, at the same time, people wake up, have no other option other than Bitcoin, right? So, I don't know, maybe it's the way out to opt out the system, but at the same time, it's sad to see, I mean, the country been default. I don't know.
It's certainly very sad to see the things we are seeing right now, especially with Sri Lanka, for example. No? So as of 2021 or something, there were these good predictions in the year 2021. These good predictions of Sri Lanka being a hub of
I saw it.
5 years. Of course, it was in the World Economic Forum, and the article has been taken down, so you cannot find this anymore. But at least in order to counteract this, at least Bitcoin is like a peaceful revolution. So you can say, I have the option to put my wealth in this money, or in this, let's not use money, let's call it assets. If you don't like the word money, because many people call money many things, Bitcoin as an asset can hold value, or at least give you a way out of currencies that are being printed irresponsibly, or whose monetary policy is damaging those who are sworn to protect. So at least you can say, okay, keep doing your thing. I am going to put my wealth in Bitcoin as much as I can, and then if you don't like it, yeah, come take it. Let's see what
Yeah,
happens.
I know. Yeah.
But
Yeah, because it's maybe people in the Sri Lanka have no idea whatsoever. What's going to happen in the world, right? I mean, the bond market, and also the cheap money that being printed, and the discrepancy between rich and the poor, and how much the debt that being paid off. Yeah, even though the yield of the bond is maybe skyrocketing, all that, but doesn't mean that the government is also pay off that the interest rate, right? So it is hard if the government itself have too much debt to pay the bond of the bondholder, right? So I don't know, maybe this is the some people say like Ponzi scheme or what, because the system is running all over again. I don't know. That's why maybe the limitation of the information that's prevent those people from getting into Bitcoin. But it is like historic time for sure.
yes, it is. I think, whether people have limited access to information or not, I'm just speaking generally, whether it's Sri Lanka or whatever country. Eventually, everyone wants to keep the fruits of their labor in the best possible way. And people just do, just go great lengths to protect exactly their efforts. So even if someone who has limited access to information don't know anything about Bitcoin yet, there will be a time in which they say, you know what, I am fed up of wasting my time, my effort on this coin that has no value because my government is printing or is seizing the assets in a very capricious way, and so on. At some point, they will discover it. They will come to
I know.
the options that are in the market, and Bitcoin sticks out as the most resilient one in that situation. So yeah, I'm hopeful. Probably, yeah, we are in turbulent times, and I don't think the worst has come yet, honestly. So I am a short-term pessimist, but a long-term optimist, if
Yeah,
I
I
had
know.
to
Yeah,
say that.
long-term bullish, yeah, because Bitcoin is
Uh,
hope for some people, right? I mean, yeah, just
yeah.
come out the news recently that the inflation of the US hits all-time highs by 91% in CPI.
990.
9.1%, 9.1%. I don't know. Yeah, it just in.
Whoa.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
just in.
kind
I
of.
know. I know. Today we're publishing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, yeah, even though like the CPI prints like the new all-time highs, there is no way to go. I mean, if you put the inequity, the Fed rates high, so that's why it's not very safe to put in asset. But at the same time, if you put in the dollar, you get inflated, right? I don't know. It's just if you in like local currency, like my country, it's better to put in the dollar, right? Because the dollar maybe skyrocketed against local currency, but the dollar itself is get inflated, and the CPI is hit all-time highs. That's why
Yeah.
it's it's quite an unfortunate situation to deal with.
It is. It is because at least 2 years ago, at the end of 2019, I remember when I started thinking about Bitcoin and so on. Then came the COVID crisis, so COVID lockdowns, the economies just closed down and so on, and they started to print money. So this quantitative easing everywhere. The move was clear. It's like put everything you have in Bitcoin. Like this is going to be our inflation hedge. Yeah. But right now, in this situation, it's like, okay, we have inflation right now here with us. I'm not sure it's going to be much higher.
Yeah.
So there is a recession coming or not. So I'm not sure what to do for the short term. Certainly, I
Yeah.
have no idea. There is some people like this. Well, Preston Peach, he mentioned that probably it makes sense to have cash right now if there is a
Yeah.
recession to come, so you can buy some equity. But for the long term, Bitcoin is the winner. Bitcoin is a digital.
Is a digital gold, especially with the halving that come up with will be take place in 2 years time. I think it's gonna affect the price, right? But at the same time, in the short run, we still indecisive whether the market is gonna go, right? Because I think it's not really in the recession, I mean, it's the
Mm.
stagflation, right? Because there is no safe asset on earth these days. Yeah, maybe you can say that the cash itself is the safe one right now in
Mhm.
this environment, but over the long run, it's gonna devalued, right, over time. But let's see lah. I don't know. We don't know, right?
Yeah, we don't know, but for the long run, you can get a good idea based on the incentives of each system and based on the scarcity of each system. And probably this is a good point to connect with my last Twitter post through which you actually contacted me and so on. So we know that Bitcoin is scarce, right?
Yeah,
And in the long term, so the maximum scheduled amount of Bitcoin will be 21 million. So if you think long term, you think, well, in order, so if you get to have one Bitcoin, then you know that there will be maximum 21 million people in the world. In the world history, at any moment, there will be
yeah,
no more than this. Yeah. So what I thought to myself, like, okay, well, this is a theoretical maximum, of course. This is what is programmed in the system. But what's the distribution of Bitcoin now according to the addresses in which this Bitcoin
yeah,
is stored? And the picture you see is that it reduces the possibility to own a Bitcoin by one order of magnitude. So
absolutely.
basically, the way that Bitcoins are stored, they are not, of course, stored in one address each Bitcoin. So they are, maybe one address has hundreds of Bitcoin. Maybe there are many addresses with lots of small pieces of a Bitcoin. And after doing some assumptions, some calculations, I came to the number that right now there will be a maximum of 2 million people in the whole world that can own one Bitcoin. So this gives you the dimension, the idea how scarce this is, yeah? Especially if you compare it to the fact that there are around 56 million of fiat millionaires in the world,
Yeah,
which is like 30 times more than the
yeah,
number of people that can have one Bitcoin right now. So when these people realize how good
yeah.
an
They
asset
realize the
Bitcoin
value.
is, you have 56 million people that can certainly the option to acquire one Bitcoin, but they can't. They can't.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, so what's going to happen to the price then? So that's why my conclusion was like, guys, don't be distracted by this bear market, by the recession of whatever it is.
yeah.
Just
Focus on
stack your
stack sats.
sats,
Yeah.
keep working, giving value to people on whatever work you have, and stack sats, yeah, and just don't be distracted or annoyed by the price action in the short term.
Yeah, I saw your thread as well about you run the numbers, right, about the distribution of the Bitcoin. So you can you like share a little bit more? I mean, what metrics that did you use? I mean, you use like geometric or what kind of math that did you use?
I have to say this is a very simple calculation I did
Yeah,
on the afternoon of last Saturday.
yeah,
It was, there is a website called Bitcoin Rich List, which is basically a place that takes from the blockchain statistics of how Bitcoins are distributed. And then it publishes the addresses by the amount of Bitcoin they have. So it says I think there are maybe 5 or 6, I don't know, addresses that have at least 100,000 Bitcoin each. Yeah.
yeah,
So probably these are addresses that belong to um, two exchanges and so on. Then there are addresses that have at least that, and there are these many addresses that have at least 1 Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you see
this is the final one. I mean, the final what is called in total, right? I mean, what's the
these are the total. So if we focus, for example, in the first column, what we call the whole coiners. So it's people that can get 1 Bitcoin, one whole Bitcoin. We realize that there are 1 million. Sorry, between 0 to 1.
Yeah, that's the whole coiner. I mean,
so there are 41 million, so almost 42 million of addresses that have less than 1 Bitcoin. So if you pack all of them together, you realize that there are in fact 1.1 million stored in those addresses. So with that number, you already know, okay, well, from this range of addresses, we know there will be a maximum amount of 1.1 million of users. Yeah.
Yes.
But then we have to add what comes next to the other levels, like people in addresses between 1 and 10, and people have a number amount of Bitcoins in addresses between 10 and anything else. Yeah. So to the maximum. And I just did a simple division, and I just ran the numbers and put.
You rather I saw the numbers in particular, because the numbers itself is makes sense, like, because it's calculated by math, and I think the population is also even though like Elon Musk say that the population collapse, the shrinking of the growth rate. But still, people can manage to buy some Bitcoin, right? I mean, even though like the next generation of population will decrease over time, but still that makes the even the higher price for Bitcoin, right? So I don't know, because the halving itself will impact the price as well. Not only that, but also the coin that have been lost forever. It's not exactly 21 million, right? I mean, it's like maybe around 80 million or something. Because how many percent? I mean, less than 5%, if I'm not mistaken. That the coin have gone lost forever, right? So it's make Bitcoin even scarcer. I mean,
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, this is something that is not talked enough. So we say 21 million because it was in the code, but in fact, there are lost coins that are probably lost, or there are coins that are assumed to belong to Satoshi, and Satoshi
cannot be moved, right?
There are many estimations. It's no real numbers there, but estimations around 2, 3, 4 million of coins that are lost forever. So think about that. I mean, this is a big chunk of the supply of Bitcoin. Yeah, and of course, in terms of population growth and so on, this is not a problem for Bitcoin, because you can divide it to a very, very small units, and even now in the Lightning network, you can transact less than 1 Satoshi. So the Satoshi is a minimum amount of Bitcoin you can transact in the layer 1, basically in the Bitcoin network. But if you put the layer 2, which is a Lightning network, then you can make the calculus and then these arithmetics and so on. Then you can transact smaller amounts, like 1 milli Satoshi and this kind of thing. So the divisibility of Bitcoin is not a concern right now, even though there is this meme around about the fact that Bitcoin is so divisible makes it a non-scarce asset. So you find some people that defend that Bitcoin is not scarce.
Yeah, I know it's from the economists might say that, but it's not. It's still scarce, I mean, imagine like you have like divided part of the like numbers, right? But it's still, if you combine that numbers, it becomes that number. I don't know. I mean, those people have no intention to learn. Maybe they afraid of getting disrupted or something like that. But what I'm saying is that the math itself cannot be corrupted, right? So.
No, that's true, because I believe in this scenario is that the people defending the position that divisibility destroys scarcity, I think they are using a confusing definition of scarcity, and they think that because you have access to a portion of Bitcoin, so this is what divisibility enables. Divisibility enables that almost everyone can have access to a small slice, of the Bitcoin. Then it's not anymore scarce. But okay, if everyone can have access to many slices, these slices will have some purchase power. If you have a huge chunk of slices, you will have the sum of that purchase power. So owning something now, even if in the future can be divided, it will increase your purchase power if many people can use of it, and their purchase power increases, so yours will increase in line. So there is no contradiction there. I don't see the
Yeah, I don't see any problem whatsoever either, because that's the number of mathematics, right? And maybe like politician and some people who afraid of this try to figure out, try to find a way out, how to circumvent this thing, I don't know. yeah.
I think the best analogy for this is, imagine you have a party where you invited 100 people, and you bring one pizza, and this pizza has this property that you can divide the pizza to the level of atoms, right?
Pizza.
So you say, guys, I'm going to give you 100th of a pizza. Does it make the pizza any less scarce? Of course not. The pizza is the
No,
same pizza, the same amount of pizza. People
same
will
amount.
just be eating one little line of pizza, and that's it. So it's divisible, but it's scarce at the same time. So
yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the part. People, try to find a way out to, make Bitcoin not, to make a bearish case against Bitcoin. Yeah, guys. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. Yeah, guys. If you like maybe confused about, if you guys confused about, the divisibility can outweigh the scarcity of Bitcoin. It's not really the case, because Bitcoin itself is the most scarce asset on the on Earth, and then the feasibility like mini Satoshi or something like that, it's only make Bitcoin even more scarce, because there is more user in the Bitcoin network, right? So yeah, that's pretty much about the scarcity in Bitcoin, right?
yeah. So if the demand is increased, it in a way in a figurative way, it increases its scarcity, so there will be less Bitcoin available.
Yeah.
But if it's more scarce, it will also increase the demand because of this endless loop. Yeah, because the added value of scarce things, so you want to have those things, especially if they have other properties like Bitcoin have. So
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I think this is a interesting conversation to have, and it has more nuances that probably we have talked about now. But still, I don't think that the divisibility of Bitcoin attacks or compromises its scarcity.
Yeah, I know. Like I said before, it's just I don't know. Maybe even some professor, I mean, in economists who, try to attack Bitcoin by using those terms. I don't
Yeah,
know,
it
but
was
they
Coppola, yeah.
try. Yeah. I mean, I will share you the tweet, but about it. But I forgot who the name is. But
Yeah,
the
Coppola, I
argument is
think.
still the same. It's all about the divisibility, but. That's not the case, right? I mean, Bitcoin, even though you can divide by 100 million Satoshi, it's still the most scarcest asset on Earth, right? So, yeah, that's.
Yeah, exactly. So
So you also run the numbers other than the adoption itself. I mean, like, what about the Bitcoin calculus? I mean, the Bitcoin function that makes Bitcoin in at a certain price in the future. I mean, you know what I mean, right? I mean, when you get the by factor of function of certain rate, you can get like, for example, like 100K or something in calculus, right? But I don't know how to explain it in English, but you understand you understand what I
I
mean,
know what
right?
you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for that, so you mean my last tweet? Because I there, the only numbers I ran, just so to say, were how many people will have access to Bitcoin. What I didn't calculate is anything about price. So this is not something I was concerned with on this exercise. But there is also, of course, some other hopeful, well, there's this macroeconomic situation when you see the market capitalization of assets where people are basically putting their money, and you see that Bitcoin is just a small drop in the middle of the sea. Yeah, and we talk about gold being Bitcoin's first competitor. So gold is more than 10 times bigger than Bitcoin right now.
Yeah.
But then there is the bond market, which is 2 orders of magnitude bigger than Bitcoin. And then there is the real estate market, and there is a sovereign debt, then there is the equity market, and everything, when it's summed up, it's obvious that if just a small part of all that market capitalization, of all that value is poured into Bitcoin, Bitcoin will grow exponentially. And I think we are having a good opportunity to get Bitcoin so cheap because the potential of growth is amazing. It's a once in a generation opportunity, I would say.
Yeah, because when it comes to like market, it tends to tie to logarithmic rather than the linear, right? That's why the x-axis and y-axis is you can project that numbers of 100K or 1 million or something by using that math, by using the calculus, right? So yeah, I understand that your point of view, because you also reassess. I mean, in your GitHub. About the stock to flow itself, right? Yeah, can you like elaborate about the modeling Bitcoin's value with scarcity? Maybe you have like I don't know, maybe pros and cons or something like that.
Well, maybe to introduce everyone to what this model is. This is a model popularized by Plan B. So pseudonymous account Plan B, and I think it was in March 2019. 2019. He shared his findings that Bitcoin price has been a direct function of its scarcity, right? So it's scarcity measured in terms of stock to flow, and stock to flow is a number that you can calculate of almost any asset, which is, if you calculate on a yearly basis, you say how many new units of these assets have been produced this year or the last 12 months, yeah? And then you divide it by the total amount of units in existence. Like, for example, the stock to flow of gold would be how much gold is produced every year divided by all the amount of gold produced in the history of mankind up to now. Yeah. So Plan B said, well, Bitcoin has a stock to flow. It's very easy to calculate because we know the issuing schedule. So we know every block is producing X amount of Bitcoin. Like when he did that, it was 12.5, I think. Yeah, it was this after the second halving.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'm just going to plot in a table the price of Bitcoin compared to the stock to flow on every moment of Bitcoin's history, right? And the point is that he found a correlation between the scarcity of the value of the stock to flow with the price of Bitcoin. It was a very strong correlation, and then he got very popular with that. Yeah. So my work there, what you are quoting on GitHub, it was like, okay, that looks interesting. I'm going to verify if what this person did is actually correct. Like, are the numbers okay? So I run the numbers basically.
Yeah, you run the numbers as well. You remove the non-values. Could you like elaborate a little bit more about it? I mean, you remove something that's really significant to the point, right? I don't know. Maybe you have another equation.
No. What I did is basically I got the price history of Bitcoin. So I look for data sets that are available out there. I mean, I don't recall this one in particular. Maybe there was, yeah, distribution of non-values.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
what
but
I
before,
referring to, you know. Yeah.
yeah, but before going that deep, because this is a particular detail of the whole calculation, what I
Yeah.
did was a Python-based script in a Jupyter notebook,
Okay.
in which I was following step by step the same calculus that I assume Plan B must have done with his work. And in fact, I came to a very similar solution. So if you see at the end the
Oh,
graph,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and my only contribution was to verify that Plan B wasn't making up any numbers. Whether the model is correct or not is a different discussion, and
Yeah,
I
yeah, it's
think
okay. Yeah.
it has proven to be wrong. But I mean, especially if we see now the market how it is down. But you see, if you just put this graph right there, this one
Okay. This one.
at the time yeah, exactly, at the time he published it, it looked amazing. Yeah, the correlation was amazing. The predicted price is the red line, and then the actual price is the blue line. So you see an almost perfect correlation. But there are lots of caveats here because the
Yeah, I
scale
know.
is logarithmic, of course. So the price swings are super big. So yeah, what this is not predictive power if you have price swings of that dimension, of course. So it's a good exercise, I should say, but I am not anymore leading my actions based on this
Yeah,
model,
exactly,
or I don't
exactly.
think
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I was at any time also leading my actions based on the model, but on a general, more macro perspective, that Bitcoin is scarce, demand will increase, so the price will go up because there's a lot of money that can flow into Bitcoin. If this model is good, then so be it. If not, then I am not worried. If the model
Yeah.
breaks down, I'm going to keep buying Bitcoin, so I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. You know, yeah. What I'm saying is that you know, yeah, people maybe try to blame on another else, right? Someone else, right? If it doesn't work that way, right? I don't know. Maybe it becomes a culture in toxicity, you know, in Bitcoin culture, because yeah, people try to, yeah, it's like basic human nature, you know. If you like did something wrong, you try to you know find a scapegoat, right?
Mm.
So I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
Plan B. But last year had the right since I mean until November. Until then, yeah, the price is not reflected that way. Oh, and then people questioning whether it's invalid the model, but at the same time, it's all about macro. And Plan B itself, you know,
but
classify this as
honestly,
a he said that Bitcoin right now is viewed as a like compared to like the stock market, you know. I mean, not like digital gold. So that's why it's
mm,
maybe people may view it right now at the moment as a
mhm,
uh, tech stock or something. Yeah,
yeah,
the technology adoption,
and
right?
yeah. Yeah, could be. But honestly, in defense of Plan B, since the very beginning, he was very cautious with the model in the sense that he said, you know, this will break at some point because, of course, you cannot have when the stock to flow of Bitcoin goes super low, then the price should skyrocket to infinity. And then he said, yeah, this is the moment in which it breaks the model. But if I mean, he always said some model. No, he said all models are wrong, but some models are useful. Yeah. So, well, I mean, it was an interesting exercise, and the guy was always cautious,
Yeah,
and he always puts lots of caveats to the interpretation of his work.
yeah.
And I have nothing against him in that regard. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
if
Yeah, the only thing that people only take it for granted, you know, because the culture
yeah,
of Bitcoin itself is, you know, don't trust, verify, right? But when you
yeah,
trust someone, it's you know completely out of the equation, right? I mean, when you like you know try to break the rule of trust, don't trust, verify. So
mm,
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of pity. At the same time, it's I don't know, maybe the model itself is invalid for you, or yeah, it's you said that before, it's another story, right? But for you itself, you wanna elaborate a little bit more about the model?
So, well, the model it says that the stock to flow of an asset, yeah, it's very important to determine its scarcity. Yeah, so the stock to flow of gold, I think, is 3%, which means that every year gold increases 3% of the total supply of gold ever mined. Yeah, with Bitcoin, the stock to flow is decreases. So right now, I think we are around 2%, something like that. I don't recall.
Yeah.
And it will be decreasing with time. So it will be more and more scarce compared to the whole amount of Bitcoin ever minted. So if the stock to flow, or the opposite of it, is the driving factor of the price of an asset, then Bitcoin will tend to go up. This is the thesis of the stock to flow model. Yeah, and it was working well until
Yeah, I
November, I
know.
guess. But yeah, there are lots of problems also with the model, because it was based on time, and some statisticians, people that know much better than I do, they say, yeah, you can get these correlations with many other assets, and it doesn't mean anything. But then actually Plan B came with a different idea to what he called the stock to flow cross asset model. And he removed the time dimension altogether. So he basically plotted the different assets by their stock to flow and their market capitalization. So you have silver, gold, diamonds, real estate, copper even, and then he took Bitcoin and he said, Bitcoin has been seen as an asset of a different category depending on the time in which you have entered the space and so on. So at the beginning, it was just like an experiment. Then it was something about I don't recall the names he used, but he called a phase transition from one narrative of Bitcoin to the next. So he said until here. So what he said is until here, I'm going to consider that Bitcoin is one asset with one narrative and one market capitalization. Then until here, the narrative is maybe digital gold. Yeah. So this will have the stock to flow of Bitcoin at the time and the capitalization of Bitcoin at that time. So it's like he broke down, he splitted Bitcoin into like different assets depending on the time and the narrative. And then he plotted them along with gold, silver, diamonds, real estate, and I don't know if others. And he called that stock to flow cross asset model. And then he came with also a regression that actually it looks super good. And in fact, the stock to flow model predicted between 50k, 100k euro per coin. And this cross asset model, which he did in order to compensate for the failures of the other, and then it came with a prediction of $288k per Bitcoin on average in a 4-time period. So it means that before we are at the end of this cycle, until the next halving, Bitcoin has to skyrocket in order to make an average of 288k. So according to this model, Bitcoin should be 400k, 500k before 2024. I mean, I don't think it will go that far, but who knows? I mean, Bitcoin has done so many crazy things, and it's not that far away from compared to what Bitcoin has done in other moments. 20x growth. It's something that Bitcoin could do if the past is of any indicator. So who knows?
I know. It's all about still Bitcoin is still correlated to the stock market, right? I mean, stock market went down, and the Bitcoin also correlated is went down as well. And if that's the case, I mean, you need to see that maybe when it comes to like mass adoption, it's completely two different story, right? I mean, they completely decouple from each other. But at the same time, if if still that way, still particularly in this market environment, Still, I find it difficult to see where Bitcoin is gonna hit 100K in the near future. So, yeah, it's exciting the time for sure, to say the least, in the near future. But at the same time, still, there's a risk of asset, right? So,
Mhm. Yeah, indeed. I think we would be better off, every one of us, if we didn't pay that much attention to the price of Bitcoin
yeah, only
and
focus
just
the
focus on, as I said before, to working in things that bring value to people and, of course, to
stacking
ourselves.
sats. Yeah,
We stack sets because we do that for our future selves and our families and future generations. So I think that's a much nobler goal than just look at the price on a daily
yeah, I know.
basis. And I have to, and I say that, and I am the worst example because I just cannot take my eyes off the screen sometimes. But you know, this is what we should be doing. Less focus on the price, more focus on building.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because the new people tend to get into like shitcoin, and they care about the price because Bitcoin is already expensive. But they can purchase like not one full Bitcoin, right? So I don't know. Maybe
Mm.
there's the knowledge that need to be spread, and that's why I created the podcast. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, no, that is very noble of you as well. Because the whole idea of Bitcoin is something that is not intuitive. If you think about it, it's everyone starts as something that they can get more money off. Like, yeah, I can get more money, more fiat money. But so you start to get rich, and if you stay long enough, you learn what is money, what's the social utility of money, and then
Right.
you realize how fucked up everything is, and then you start to feel you want to fix things. So it's
Yeah.
the compelling force of learning what Bitcoin is. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
sometimes
that's why.
there is a blessing in disguise as well, when it comes to like bear market, because bear market creates Bitcoiner, right? When bull market Saki hits, they will create shitcoiner. But it's just a joke, but it's the
Yeah,
meme is all over the place. It's kind of true as
yeah.
well,
Yeah, but I guess that's part of human nature and part of how things work. Because Bitcoin doesn't force itself into anyone, people will choose whatever they see fit. And always, if you choose shitcoins, you end up hitting a wall. And unless you are very lucky, but most of the people just get rug pulled.
Yeah,
And
I know.
if they are lucky, they have someone that tells them, now it's a good moment that you learn about Bitcoin and why this is the the actual asset that makes sense. Yeah, and not this other.
Yeah, I think, for me personally, the boom and bust still happen, because people still have no idea what Bitcoin is all about, right? So if
Mhm.
they really understand, I mean, the full cycle of Bitcoin, maybe in the next two cycle, I think the need there is need to be decouple, Bitcoin and shitcoin. I don't know, maybe they value go close to zero. I don't know, but the point of shitcoin to get your Bitcoin, right? So I don't know.
uh, I'm not going to discuss
Yeah,
shitcoins,
it's
unfortunately.
okay.
I
It's
mean,
just
it's,
it's just my personal opinion. Yeah.
yeah,
So
no. It's these are projects that may be born with some intentions, and most of the times these are people who just want to change one system of authority to another system of authority with them on top. So I don't think that's
yeah,
important at
particularly
all.
with the Sri Lanka, got default. Maybe there's who's next, right? I mean, who gonna be default? I mean, if you
Mm.
default, I mean, your asset will be confiscated, right? And the Bitcoin
Yeah,
is only the solution, right? It's only hope. So I don't know. People will learn the hard way, but until then, Bitcoin will, hit the certain price. I don't know, and you don't get any supply. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a complex situation
Yeah, complex thing, and
in many
we
cases.
we
Yeah.
we live in the historic time for sure. Yeah,
Of course, no, also because you don't want to be either patronizing with people like, yeah, you should have bought Bitcoin, if you want Bitcoin, I can help you. If don't worry. I mean, it's up to you. I know what I
yeah,
want, but I don't want to be pushing this down your throat as well. But there is
yeah,
some point that when you realize, when you learn about the reality of Bitcoin and what it means, and especially what it can mean for so many people, at least in my case, I become obsessed with it in the sense that I'd like people to learn much more of what it is, and then with conversations, I try to push it a little bit,
yeah.
and
I know.
I can be sometimes a bit boring with the same topic, but it's good
Yeah,
fun.
it's okay. Yeah, but at the same time, people love drama, and toxicity happen is all the place, all over the place, because Bitcoin have no regulation, right? I mean, people get rug pull the hard way, but the regulation itself is the toxicity. I don't know. You can
Yeah,
self-regulated by yourself,
but this
but I don't know. I still cannot, pursue. I mean, like to ask people to or to buy Bitcoin or something like that. What I can do is that to provide information. Whether you can buy by yourself is up to you. It's your own decision to do what to do with your money, right? But at the same time, I'm here to because I also will have family in the future, right? I cannot like let them to yeah I cannot prevent them from such mistake, right? So I don't know what.
True, true. No, this now is very popular. Now talking about Bitcoin toxicity, I think as you said that very well. This Bitcoin toxicity, so to speak, is the immune system of the
Yeah,
Bitcoin
that's the
environment.
regulation.
Yeah, it's a regulation body or organ or whatever you call it, and in the end, it's just telling people in the hardest way possible to stay away from what's a scam. Yeah, and of course sometimes it overshoots, but these are the minority of cases, and most of the time so-called toxic maximalists can be very helpful. And in
Yeah.
fact, if anyone tries to reach out to any Bitcoin maxi as toxic as they may seem, they are super helpful. So this is something that needs to be understood as well by everyone. That because there is no real, I mean, of course there are more and more regulations, but Bitcoin comes from the wild, wild west, basically. And those who understood Bitcoin realize that the appearance of scams, especially these affinity scams, are actually an attack on Bitcoin, and that's why they are defending it with all the tools they have. And if you are just like a Mr. Nobody like myself, so the only thing you have is just a computer and access to a social network, the only thing that you do is just to say, guys, this is a scam, please don't go there. And then they called you a maxi because you are not open-minded. So I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I'm not
I know.
open-minded enough to tolerate your scam. So fuck you, man. But yeah, if that is toxic, if that is toxic, then so be it. But you are actually trying to help people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because we never know. Like, I mean, your close family will have the, happen to, fall for this scam. I don't know. And then, for example, like when Corey, CEO of Swan Bitcoin, exposed Celsius, right, for a long time, and people, never take it for granted, and also kind of thankful for him, right? So
Yep.
they fall for this scam. It's a completely different story. Maybe they blame someone to do something, right? So that's why it's I agree at some point with you, but at the same time I see when they I don't want to judge people to do what their action, right? I mean, they try to toxic in like body shaming or something. I don't buy that, and what I'm saying is
No,
like
no.
yeah. Yeah, that's why it's a toxicity across the line. That's why I, yeah, I'm saying, right? Yeah, happen all over the place.
Yeah, there are some dark corners in the Bitcoin space as well, but I mean, there are dark corners pretty much everywhere. So this is not particular of Bitcoin. You have extremes many places, like the meat cult of the Bitcoin movement. Like somehow everyone is a carnivore. Like, okay, why and how is it related to?
Yeah, I
I,
know.
I just I just found this very, very funny, in fact, and some people are very, very vocal on that. So okay, that's good. But that doesn't mean that this is a representative of Bitcoin. In the same way, like the
Yeah, I
person
know.
who is insulting, like body shaming or this kind of things, is like,
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
yeah,
Yeah,
this
that's
you are not representative either.
yeah,
So
it's the culture itself that need to be improved. But yeah, it is what it is, and we can only control ourselves. So yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Thank you. I think that's it for today. Thank you for your math, but insight and your exercise number. Yeah, maybe before you go, I mean, it's just for financial advice. Do you have any like specific Bitcoin price prediction for the next 2 years, lah? Yeah, in particular.
If, if I have what? Sorry, I didn't understand.
You have any specific Bitcoin price prediction for the next 2 years? Yeah, it's just for fun, no financial advice. Yeah.
Any specific prediction of what could happen? You mean?
Yeah, I mean, like you have a target of 100K or 200K for the next
Uh,
2 years, lah. Yeah, it's just for fun, just for fun.
Look, there are a few events that could be triggering a upside like crazy, which is if they pass this law in the US, that is a bipartisan law with Senator Lamis and Gillibrand, so one Republican, one Democrat. If this passes in the time span of 1-2 years, it will give lots of regulatory clarity to many businesses, and they will be very happy to put like billions and billions of money. So if this happens, plus the by all awaited ETF, this ETF that the SEC doesn't want to approve. So if these two things happens in a short time frame, we could see Bitcoin in the millions. Like let's say in 2 years' time, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin is between 500K and 1 million. So yeah, but
Yeah, exactly.
we could also be
Yeah,
talking
that's
about
even itself, after got rejected, Grayscale tried to sue SEC, but
yeah.
it's kind of true. Yeah, I don't know.
And there's also another thing that is going under the radar, but it was 1 or 2 months ago that in El Salvador there were 44 central bank authorities for different countries, like 44 people, so you have a few dozens of countries that eventually they could come together and say, hey guys, let's put this regulation or let's put this legal tender. So what if in the next 2 years there are like 5 to 10 more countries that accept Bitcoin in a legal basis? Yeah. So these are sort of gray swans, not really black swans, because we know this could happen. But if they happen, the consequences could be non-linear. They could just send the price to the moon if you have all these things together.
You also have the question of stock to FOMO, right? Is the exponential growth of stock to flow? It's gonna happen. I don't know.
Exactly. I think if we talk about long enough time horizon, it will go up. So there is only one direction. It's just on the short term, who knows what is the news of the moment that will send the price up or down. So I don't really care. I care about probably my kids or what they are going to see in the future. And I think that will be much better in terms of Bitcoin adoption than now.
Yeah, that's pretty much about it. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Raul. It's been an honor to be here. Guys, if you're interested in Raul project, I will share a link in the description. And leave a like and subscribe to our channel, guys.